Yes, excellent. Don't start watching yet. We're not ready. Hold on. The internet kind of messed with us last time, so we're gonna be sure that doesn't happen again. Let's... excellent. All right. Now we can start. Mostly. I don't know. Anyhow, everybody who's not here, welcome to Chatty Coffee Talk. That's right, you might be saying, what was taking you so long to get started? Well, last time we were doing this, turns out the internet didn't want to work properly, and we're missing all ones of our chat that came in. Talk about make for a bad show. Anyhow, so now we're going to try and circumvent that by, yes, that's right, it's showtime, the big JC in the house. Hopefully you have your coffee. Not a requirement, not a prerequisite, just in the title and description. But much love, brother. Good to the morning. Enjoy you a brew. And we'll enjoy talking about pretty much whatever we want to talk about, which is going to be cartoons for adults. That's what we decided on because, in essence, we can talk about that for a good while, pad out a episode or a show, and whatever you want to call it, and almost fill all of that negative dead space with some sort of pseudo-content. Yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be good, but we can talk about cartoons for a minute. So, let's do such. Where do you want to begin at? You want to start at what kicked it all off and made a good plethora of the adult population? That's what the state refers to us as. Let's go ahead. Cartoons weren't as cartoonified or cartoony as they are now in today's realm of what is offered. Okay, you look at the overwhelming amount of choices that exist nowadays, everything from cartoons geared specifically towards kids to cartoons geared specifically towards adults. Now, you got everything in between that, of course, as well. Mostly. I don't know. You have things to choose from that didn't exist in their entirety or in any way, shape, or form that were targeted necessarily to a general target audience. Back before the cable of the watching cable TV, and of course before the Al of the Gore invented the inter of the net, you had cartoons that would just roll out and come out that you caught them or you didn't catch them, you liked them or you didn't like them. You didn't have a choice. You didn't have, unless you were super rich with laser discs, a whole selection of necessarily VHS tapes to pop in. This was before DV of the Ds and recording of the streaming service things and such. You had all of these cartoons that just came out. Do you like G.I. Joes? No. Well, that's what's on at early in the morning. You better wake your ass up to go watch it. Okay? I don't like it. Well, then, sleep in for 10 extra minutes, and you might be able to catch Transformers, or you might be able to catch She-Ra. What? She-Ra sucked. Okay, well, He-Man was on before that. New He-Man on Netflix, or old He-Man? The old one! We haven't even seen the new one, because, for some reason, ones of people told us not to, and we believed them. We're not going to check it out, whether Kevin Smith had a hand in it or not. Now, we loves our Kevin Smith, but we don't loves what we heard about some of the new He-Man iterations that came out. Whatever. The point is that you had all these cartoons out. You couldn't pick what was there. So it became what was. Okay? These are the cartoons that started the love and infatuation with animation. Potentially, we don't know for sure. It's not like we interviewed all the cartoon creators and animators, but surely something's piqued their interest in animation and cartoonography and whatever makes them do their job, okay? You had these individuals start making cartoons, start making shows. They started making them with a passion, with an ingrained sense of, this is what I liked. Maybe I can make something and refine it and hone it in. Or I have a story that me and my buddy came up with. Hopefully your buddy's not Joey, because you will get arrested. Anyhow, the point is that there were, creators of animated shows that started putting stuff out, making stuff, this, that, the other, that then could be refined and geared and honed and put towards a particular audience, okay? When Snow of the White first came out in theaters back in the 50s or whatever, okay? That was a year before the 2000s. I know years are hard to follow for some ones of you people, but back in like the 1950s, it was the 40s, asshole. I don't know. It was the 40s or 50s. We weren't there. We're just saying it was a different year. The point is, do not watch any cartoons supplied by Joey. Absolutely not. Do not watch those cartoons supplied by Joey. There are subliminal messages, hidden links, okay? And you don't want to know what happens to those who have found out how to, we don't want to say the R word, followed by what's on top of a house, fiend, okay, thing, okay? Cartoons, but it's like drinks. Joey's able to embed himself into stuff in an inhuman way, and it will entirely destroy all aspects of humanity that might remain in yourself. So avoid that at all costs. But yes, you have these folks that were out there, cranking out shows, gearing them towards things like, hey, I got a kid, let me make this show about, some action warrior guy, because my kid really likes action warrior guys, right? So then all of a sudden you have, well, I don't know, what's a cartoon? You have a cartoon that came out. Which one? I don't know. No, you should have planned this better. Whatever. That sounds like work. We can talk cartoons. We just got to move it up forward a little bit. Pretend we're on to the next segment anyway. So, when cartoons started coming out and they were geared towards individuals and things like that, you started getting networks being like, hey, there really is a market for cartoons. And back in the 40s, 50s, whatever, when Snow of the White came out in theaters and such like that, it was a different time. It was a different era. There were no cartoons coming on TV. People going to the theater to see Snow White. Some of them didn't even know it was a cartoon. True story. We know that for a fact because we talked to ones of people that said that. So maybe a lot of people knew it was a cartoon. But folks going to the theater, they didn't know. They're like, oh, let's go to the theater. What's playing? I don't know. Movies worked differently then. There wasn't like, you didn't call the number to the theater and be like, hey, what are your show times? People don't do that anymore anyway. You used to have to wait. Sometimes the line was busy and the recording would repeat itself. And you're like, damn it, they're talking about Platoon playing at 7 o'clock. I gotta wait until the 3:30 showings because it's fucking Saturday afternoon. They're at the 9 o'clock showings. Hold on. You had to wait for the whole recording to go around. Fuck that. Go buy a newspaper, bitch. Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Sure. We can afford 45 cents every time we want to read something. Jeez Louise. And then you have to find where the theaters are in it. Yeah. Why don't you just ask us to write a thesis? Jeez. The point is that I don't know, but cartoons, people didn't know they were seeing. Now they do. Now people didn't know who they were making them for. They just knew they were making them. Now they do. Cartoons have become so ingrained in society and culture that you can ask folks and individuals, presumably if they're not artificial symbiotic life forms of sorts running around, what was your favorite cartoon growing up? And most times out of 10, people will probably have one. Or they'll be like, I didn't watch any cartoons. In which case, you'd be like, Joey in disguise! And then you run the other direction and get out of there. Or not. Maybe some people just didn't watch cartoons. I don't know. We like to take all precautionary steps and measures as possible, but that's a whole nother thing. The point is that, yeah, you ask folks nowadays, they have their favorite, okay? So, as those folks who saw cartoons when they were younger began growing up, as they started getting into the field themselves, or their friends did, and they started liking subject matter like, hey, we read superhero action comics when we were, younger and whatnot. We got our 15-cent dime store action comic book for 35 cents, and we loved them. We would start playing superheroes and stuff like that. Okay? These folks, these individuals were like, well, hey, let's make a cartoon out of it. Hey, we know this Stan Lee guy. He makes a lot of cartoony action comic guys. Let's make an X-Men cartoon. And you have individuals, man, that then started falling in love with intellectual properties and proprietary universes and things of that nature that drew them in, that created love, infatuation, homogeneous, symbiotic, life trajectory courses with, okay? And you can't say that it didn't. Because for folks to take the time to have fallen in love with Ninja Turtles cartoon, go to a tattoo shop and get a fucking Ninja Turtle tattooed on them, all right, that is a trajectory that cartoon and watching experience took them on in their life, okay? Now, unless Joey had their better way with them in the R-ing, right? Made them watch some crazy-ass cartoon, and they woke up in Joey's basement strapped down, and Joey's like, I got a tattoo gun. You're like, it's fucking Joey. You better watch what you're watching. If your algorithm got you here, you're in some trouble already, but at least we can begin to warn you. So maybe everything happens for a reason. But there's no way of knowing. The reason for us to continue talking about cartoons and the infatuation that people had with them and how they began getting geared for adults is the fact that we don't really have much else going on and we got this much coffee left. So we'll continue the conversation with all ones of you. As people fell in love with these things, as they changed their life, as they started buying the merchandise, collecting the figures, going back as adults and collecting the toys and paraphernalia that either they did have growing up or weren't afforded the opportunity to have, but they have such a love for the franchise or universe intellectual property that they will spend oodles of dollars, okay, of their hard-earned money to buy this memorabilia from an era and from a time that meant so much to them that that's what they wanted to invest in as adults, okay? Now, you take it a step further, and you take into account the older individuals, okay, that grew up, that went to the colleges. What the fuck did you just say? I don't know. Don't worry about it. Hold on. Management's calling. What? We're doing the show. We're on time today. Uh-huh. No. It doesn't matter what we said. No one knows what we said. Shut up. You ruined the show. Anyhow, management's dumb sometimes. You have individuals that went to college and started creating their own entities, right? Only their humor was a little different. They grew up in a little time frame called crazy, right? And that was the time frame right before cell phones. Oh, man, all you poor bastards out there in the era of cell phones, oh, I know what you've been doing because it's all recorded and on the inter of the net. But holy moly ravioli, would individuals, totally not us, have ended up in, let's say, scenarios and situations legally, okay, that might have become problematic to get us to where we are today. Okay, so we're not the best example, but surely these individuals, they had different senses of humor. They started creating shows and things of that nature that individuals and folks could just adhere to and grab onto and fall in love with right out of the gate. Let us introduce you to a little show that you've probably never heard of. Yes, we have. We know that you're going to say something we've heard of. No, you haven't. It's a little show called South Park. Oh, you son of a bitch. You got us. Yeah. Oh, you guys are so gullible. Oh, man. Anyhow, yeah, South Park. We knew that you had heard of it, but we were like, we could get them. Let's start their morning off with a little bit of a trick, right? Or treat. It's not even October. I wish it was. Don't you stop this around then? I don't know. Fair point, though. Little show called South Park, okay? Trey Parker, Matt Stone, we've talked about him on the channel. Wish you didn't. Whatever, okay? We've seen virtually every iteration of project that they have rolled out with the exception of the couple that are so exclusive you have to spend a lot of money to go see, like, you know, the Book of Mormon on Broadway and stuff like that. We're not going to New York to go see a Broadway musical. Put that shit on Netflix so we don't have to leave the house. Point is that we've kept up with most endeavors that they have undertaken, virtually all the releases, man, you know, every single aspect that we could grasp onto, and sink our teeth into, all the way to the video games that had come out from, you know, even iterations back in the day, the N64 Snowball of the Fight one, this, that, the other, okay? There's all sorts of elements of South Park that reached and became a part of the fabric of a generation growing up in society, or that may have already been a little grown, such as our case. We're freshmen in high school when South of the Park came out. We didn't have rich people cable because that was for rich people, but our buddy had it, and mad love to Fred A. San Antonio, Texas, you know who you are? He's not watching this. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, but, man, Fred, he recorded the first, I don't know, I think 2 or 3 episodes of South Park. He was recording every episode that came out. They had cable, and he had a working VCR that could record, and he had blank VHS tapes. These weren't even recorded over VHS tapes that, like, people get mad at. Like, hey, what happened to my wedding anniversary recording? I needed South Park recorded because it's fucking epic. Ah, yeah, it was a different time back then. Point is, I don't know who recorded South Park over your wedding tape. That's a different show altogether. Don't worry about it. You had my buddy hook me up with a VHS recording of the first couple episodes of South Park, right? And that's how you hit the share button back in the fucking day. You know how hard it was to make a mixtape? Man, especially if you were jacking that shit from the radio. How many songs would you record when at the end of it would be like, thanks for joining WFM 9X6, the home of the hits. And you got like, home of the hits. And it's recording, and that's the intro to your track or your song that you have, home of the hits. And then, bop, dip, dop, ba, doo, wop. No, sorry, that was our recording. Don't worry about it. Anyhow, it doesn't matter where you got your Hanson recordings from. The point is that my buddy Fred was able to hook us up with the South Park recordings on VHS, and it was phenomenal. That was a long time to talk about all that to just get to that. Yeah, but anyhow, we fell in love right out of the gate with South Park. We wanted to follow it everywhere. We got some of the Merchant of the Dice. Some of it as gifts. You bought that, asshole? Yes, we did. It was $9.99, back when stuff was expensive but affordable. Look, Chef's on it. He's not even in the show anymore. This is probably a collector's item. We're gonna hold on to it foreversies, but we'll sell it for $13,000. If you want to buy this tie that's been featured in this show, it costs 13 grand. It's worth it. Chef's on it. We haven't even spilled coffee on it yet, unless we did before and forgot. We can't guarantee it's stain-free, but we can guarantee it's South Park for thee. I don't know. Stop peddling your wares. Whatever. Trying to make a buck, but that's fine. That's fine. We don't need to live in luxury. You already are. Something like that. Anyhow, cartoons intertwined into the fabric of society and became a iteration and a part of what folks really could hold on to and carry over. And the minute shows like South Park and the Family Guy, and we know we could back the trolley up and hit Simpsons extremely hard out of the gate in that crossover time while Snow White had left theaters and other cartoons were hitting the market, and they got right past all of that initial whatever was on cartoon TV in the morning on Saturday. You had to wake your ass up to go see G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, you know, the like, whatever, Voltron of the Voltron. Assemble, motherfuckers, okay? You had all these, shows that were out there they were just out there, couldn't pick when to watch them. Okay, it grew into, of course, Simpsons coming out of the gate very hard when it got picked up on off of a little short that they had. Homer choking Bart or something or another. Wonky animation, but it was animation that was funny. What was it, a SNL little short first that, took that show from what it was to what it became and is. Massive, massive intellectual property. Hey, dive into those future iterations that are way more adult. Dive into any of the anime circuit that's adult. There's some extremely adult anime out there, and if you're not an adult watching it, you probably should be an adult watching it, because, man, they show boobies in some of these things, and tentacle-like apparatuses on alien-like life forms. What the fuck are you watching? We didn't pick it. It came on by itself. It's crazy. There's some crazy stuff out there. There's some very adult stuff. Well, back it up. Talk about after Simpsons, before the crazy stuff. All right. Let's hit theaters back up. You want to talk about tie-ins and crossovers? What about movies like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Bedknobs and Broomsticks? Who Framed Roger Rabbit? You got movies that came out that did tie-ins with cartoon animation, and whilst it may or may not arguably be geared towards younger or older audiences, we believe Who Framed Roger Rabbit is rated PG. Though nowadays it would probably be rated NC-17 because there's a lot of pussies out there. But, you got Who Framed Roger Rabbit, okay? It's rated PG. Probably would be PG-13 today. All right? But it was a cartoon tie-in to, mixed reality, real human life. All right? That broke barriers, pushed boundaries. Okay? You got other cartoons that came out as full theatrical releases, and before, bigger, longer, uncut, other, Disney cartoons. You got cartoons that were hitting theatrical releases geared towards older individuals. How old? Negligible, arguable, whatever. Think of movies like Bebe's Kids, okay? What the fuck is that, boomer? It's a movie. No, it's not. Yes, it is. It's a cartoon movie. Bebe's Kids. Bebe. Bebe from South Park, motherfucker. No. Bebe looks like Chef. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have the hat. And he has a different shirt. I don't think he weighs the same. All right, so it's a different character altogether. But the point is that Bebe's Kids came out, and it was hilarious. And people fell in love with it, and people loved it. And it was not a cartoon that was geared towards younger individuals. It wasn't a cartoon that was geared towards extremely mature audiences, because grandparents wouldn't want to go watch that. There's that time frame and that niche period, man, where you have these shows that were hitting. Simpsons, early parts of South Park, Family Guy, okay? You got cartoons hitting the theaters, the Bebes of the Kids, Bigger, Longer, Uncut. Yes, another South Park tie-in, but there's got to be other, like, older. Even, okay, think Titan AE cartoon movie, okay? Hit theaters, maybe didn't do too well. That movie's phenomenal. It's like a cartoony movie, okay? Really good movie, awesome concept and design, and thought out, this, that, the other, okay? It's not going to be for everyone, obviously. It's a cartoon. It's not going to be for everyone because it's science fiction tied into it, all right? But this stuff came out, and it's geared towards the masses, and it only hits a small percentage and fraction of them. But that small percentage and fraction grow the industry by collecting the merchandise, okay, our South Park tie, our other random South Park stuff that we have, our iterations and versions of games that we have, okay, maybe a little, figure plush or something here or somewhere. I don't think we have any for South Park, but we would fucking buy one if it was on clearance and super cheap. You have all of these aspects that just influenced and grew the industry of adult cartoon entertainment to where it sits and where it is. And it's still a growing industry. Like we were talking about anime a second ago, that's probably where a lot of the adult driving force for some of the animation comes from. You still have your South Park seasons coming out, sure, whatever. Couple cartoons here or there. You're drawn together, okay? You're what is it, like story time? I don't know, your Adult Swim stuff, sure. You want to talk about like some of that stuff, like, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, things of that nature. Like, yeah, there's a whole apparatus around Adult Swim. That's a whole show in itself, Adult Swim. If there's so many elements to cartoons for adults that you could break it up into eras and time frames. You could break it up into genres and subject matter. You could break it up into mediums that they were presented on and or are available on. You can divide the argument into, plenty of different ways, right? And unfortunately, we're going to have to divide it up some way or another because you guys are making us talk and we're not enjoying our cold-ass coffee now, but surely. A little warm, we might want to take a couple sips real quick before it's totally ruined. This Chatty Coffee Crew really gets chatting when they get chatting. I wish they wouldn't. Fair enough. We drank it all anyway, but we'll talk for a sec. Otherwise, you can leave if you want to. It's going to be the same crap, really. But you're welcome to hang out, because the place to be. I don't know. Whatever. So, cartoons, anime, geared towards adult, geared towards specific audiences now. What a time to be around to pick and choose not only what you want to watch, but where and how you want to watch it. Maybe some limited aspects to that. Maybe some stuff that you want to watch is harder to find or come across or, this, that, the other. Sure, fair enough. Maybe some of the stuff, you got to pay to watch or check out and stuff like that. Hey, valid reasons. That's why you make friends with someone like Fred, who can hook that shit up on the free, and you don't gotta buy shit. Thanks, Fred. That meant a lot to us. We even returned his tape to him after we were done watching it as many times as we possibly could. But it takes a while for stuff to rewind. So, every time our mom would be coming in the room and be like, better turn this shit off. Parents just don't understand. Are we right? Are we right? Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff? And they were like, parents just don't understand. We're like, hell yeah. That's what we're saying. That's why we had to. We're not watching South Park. You don't know what it is. Go in the other room. Make us ants on a log, please. Quick, they're gone. Hit play. Going down to South Park. Yeah. Fantastic. South Park's great. We loves it. That was one of our peak adult animation, shows for adults. But what got us into the animation was all that early stuff, I mean, kids love cartoons. At least most kids. At least some kids. I don't know. Some iteration or version of little tiny young people like cartoons. And we were one of them, okay? We would get home from the school and, put on the Disney afternoon. Wasn't that on cable? Oh, that was on cable! There was a free trial that we got once, okay? We had cable for like 6 to 8 months. We were like, we got cable. Gotta get home after school. Class isn't out yet. Get back here. Fuck you, Disney Afternoon starts Chippendale Rescue Rangers, motherfucker. That's the second show. Gummy bears, bitch. Bouncing here and there and everywhere. And we needed them bouncing in our eyeballs. So, anyhow, we would check out, the cartoons that we could when we could check them out. And it was fantastic. We loved us some Chippendale Rescue Rangers, some Tailspin, some Disney Afternoon. We loved our Saturday morning lineup of the G.I. of the Joes and the He-Mans and the Transformers and the Voltrons, whatever. That's not the order that was in. Or the other one, actually, either, necessarily. But don't forget about DuckTales. And some other shows that they threw on there. And then they threw some crappy shows on there no one liked. But some people liked them, probably. Anyhow, that affinity from waking up early as a tiny, tiny kid watching cartoons in the morning to rushing home after school on an afternoon's day to check out Duck of the Tales. Woo! Dun, dun, dun. Duckburg was a crazy place. Hell yeah, it was. That's right. To where we grew up. When was that? I don't know. And got to catch South Park and, the parts of Family Guy that we did catch. And, there was an aspect of time there where Simpsons was the driving, comedic, adult-oriented, more cartoon that was out there. Unless you were watching like the Ambiguously Gay Duo or something like that on Saturday Night Live, which again was phenomenal back in the day. Then Saturday Night Live turned to crap. Presumably. I mean, it's better than this. Yes, fair point. But, we're that ground floor level of crap. It's like, we're the crappiest internet celebrity there is, but there has to be that ground floor level. There just has to exist that, okay? To where everything else is better and you can only go up. And we got dibs on the bottom ground floor level. Because to get up further, gotta fucking work. We're avoiding that. So we're gonna kick it right here and just hope good things happen. No, you gotta make them happen. We'll see how it goes. We're working on the studio. Work faster. No. Okay, we're working on it. Work faster. Stop getting us waylaid into stuff. You're going to ruin the end of the show. We're already out of coffee. It's been ruined for us for the last, 8 minutes. It's been 5. Well, it feels like 8. The point is that cartoons became such a prevalent component and aspect of lives that when individuals got to that collegiate level or got to that past high school level, you don't need to go to college, be wherever in your life, Okay? You got past that you're an adult in society now. Okay? Well, not past that, but you got to that point, okay? You're past that kid in society, that young teenager in society, that you're out of high school in society, okay? You're at that level, and you get to pick and choose your entertainment, and there's such a large amount of entertainments and forms of entertainments, cartoon-wise, that exist that can relate to so many aspects or components of your lives, like South Park does and did for us in different, points in time, to where you fall in love with it and it becomes just a part of your, life process. Well, still to this day, if we put on Pluto or the TV, free streaming service, and South Park's on, we'll watch it. Commercials and all. We have the fucking seasons on DVD mostly. Even with the commentary. Fighting the Frizzies at 11. You know how often we've been fighting the Frizzies at 11? As often as we had to. Okay? Cartoons for adults are fantastic. That's where we sit on it. That's where we, rest our talk about it. Okay? This, that, the other. Because not only do they provide, like we said, especially the ones that can relate to your life, okay, that sense of relationship, okay, to the external world, all right, when subject matter aligns perfectly, or an event in your life aligns with an event a cartoon is portraying in one way, iota, shape, or form, okay? You have all these elements and aspects of how the show itself, can tie into your life, and it just adds that much more meaningfulness, all right, to something like that. If there's something you can grasp onto that a show does or presents and gives you, okay, to where it becomes a part of your, routine and your apparatus and your recollections and stuff, like, oh, I remember this episode of The Simpsons where this, that, the other. Or I remember this episode of the South of the Park where this, that, the other. Or Family Guy where they ripped off this, that, the other. We're just joking. We're not saying they do that. We're just saying that those manatees do some very clever writing. The point is that animation for adults, cartoon for adults, it exists. It's fantastic. And for adults like us, according to the state, it's, perfectly right up our alley. So, there you go. Anyhow, like we said, we're out of coffee, so we'll entertain all nuns of your questions coming in, but we're about to kick it, so if you want to beat us out of here, now's your chance. Otherwise, yes, interact with a real crappy celebrity. We will answer all ones of your questions. All right, so yeah, coming in, so we'll just answer one on the way out. And by answer a question, we'll just make a blanketed statement. We don't need your subscription, we need your money. So downvote the shit out of this and give us $1. Get off our lawn!